Good evening. My name is Janina Capello. My co-moderator is Eileen Dennehy. On behalf of the Haldane PTA, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's Meet the Candidates Forum. Thank you for coming, and thank you to the candidates for being here today and giving us a chance to get to know them. Tonight we are going to hear from our three candidates, Jen Daly, Sean McNall, and Laura O'Connell, who are running for 2 seats on the Haldane Board of Education. But first I'd like to turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Benante, who will offer some opening remarks. Dr. Benante?
Thank you, Janina and Eileen, thank you. And thanks to the PTA's Executive Board for organizing this evening's event. Good luck to each of the candidates this evening and in the weeks to come. I appreciate your commitment to public service, and I can think of no other public service that is as rewarding as serving as a trustee for our local public schools. I've had the opportunity to get to know each of you, some better than others, over the course of the school year, and I think that each of you are in this for the right reasons, and I look forward to learning more about you and your thoughts about school district governance following this evening. I've enjoyed what I believe to be a very healthy relationship with our Board of Education over the course of the past year. We've collaborated to set the district's priorities this school year and have constructed a budget for next school year that I believe is reflective of the community's values. The budget development process is just one of many responsibilities that a board member carries. Our board members are part of creating a shared vision for our schools. They hold me and members of the administration accountable for students' social, emotional, and academic experiences and outcomes on campus. A board member is responsible for adopting and maintaining the district's policies, the hiring of staff, the list really goes on. Each of these responsibilities, in order to be done well, is predicated on trust. Trust between the community and the board, and trust between the board and our administration. As I mentioned before, I thank Jen, Sean, and Laura for the interest to serve as trustees for our school district. I look forward to hearing more about your thoughts this evening, and good luck.
Thank you, Dr. Benante. So this evening, each of the candidates will be given 3 minutes for an opening statement, starting with Jennifer Daly. Then we will continue with Sean McNall, and finally, Laura O'Connell. Then each candidate will answer 4 different questions. These will be in the areas of fiscal responsibility, governance/district operations, student achievement, and then 1 general question. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer, and my co-moderator will be timing. She'll give a signal at the 20-second mark, and then a 30-second mark, and then at the end. And then each candidate will get 2 minutes for a closing statement. Jen, would you like to?
I also want to add that Maya will be, if you have a hard time, last year we had a bit of a hard time so Maya's, when I hold up a card, Maya will hold up a card too, so you can have two ways to know your time is running low.
Okay, so Jen Daly.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having this event. Thank you for those of you who are here. My name's Jen Daly. I'm running for re-election. I've served 2 full terms on the Board of Education, and I'm running for my 3rd term. I thought I would take this opening remarks opportunity to just talk a little bit about my professional experience and how I feel like it relates to school board service. So I began my career as an educator. I was a dance educator in the public schools. So I taught as a full-time dance educator, K through 12, and I wrote curriculum, implemented curriculum, and I feel like that experience really gives me a real-world relationship to the teachers and what's happening in the classroom here. I understand their challenges. I understand what it means to differentiate a learning environment and how hard that is, and yet how absolutely essential it is. So I feel a connection to teachers because of my teaching experience. After leaving teaching, I went into being a small business owner. For anybody who's done that, it's a harrowing experience. You're responsible for pretty much everything from marketing to accounting to hiring staff, firing staff, training staff, promoting staff, dealing with PR, dealing with plunging the toilet when required. So it's an all-encompassing job, and I feel like those skills have really lent themselves to me as a board member. I understand what it means to budget. I understand what it means to do a lot of things at the same time. I often think of our administrators as small business owners. They're asked to do a lot of things and to do a lot of things really well. So I sympathize with them and I understand that process. And then lastly, my experience as a Board of Education member. Most Board of Education members really only serve one term. And that's because it's a big job, and 3 years is a long term, and people really feel like they've done their work after one term, and they have. But I'm excited to serve more than that, and I think that that's actually really valuable to the district. There's so much to learn as a Board of Education member, and I feel like I've had an opportunity to learn a lot of it over the past 6 years. And I'm proud of that work, and I really look forward to continuing it. And yeah, so I think my professional world has contributed to me being a good candidate for the Board of Education. Thanks.
Thank you, Jen. Sean?
There's this extraordinary moment in a play by William Shakespeare, Cymbeline. Play that I'm very much is on my mind right now because we're producing it this summer at the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival. And in this play, a man bets half of everything he owns that he can travel halfway around the world and persuade a princess to choose him for her husband. And as soon as he arrives, he realizes that he's made a terrible mistake and that he's made a bet that he cannot win. And he does an extraordinary thing. He looks to the audience, or to the gods, as they do in Shakespeare, and he says, "Boldness be my friend, arm me audacity from head to foot." And what I've realized in this process so far is you have to be rather bold and you have to be rather audacious to raise your hand and to add your name to the ballot. And I wanted to first express my gratitude to you, Jen, for doing it for as long as you have, and so wonderfully, and to you also, Laura, for adding your name to the ballot and raising your hand. I do think, however, that boldness and audacity in Shakespeare rarely ends well. It's often advised against. And another great play by Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, which the high school students did very well at the beginning of this year. Romeo comes to the friar, and he wants to marry Juliet, who he's just fallen in love with, and the friar gives him some good advice, and if he'd only listened to it, it would have been extraordinary. He said, "Wisely and slow, they stumble that run fast." Wisely and slow. I think that the gap between our ideals and the messy truth of getting things done in a small community like ours, it sometimes leads us to yearn for a real forceful response to problems and concerns. And so we tend to prefer bold initiatives of one kind or another. And bold initiatives and audacious ideas might very well motivate someone to run for office. And though there's a need for bold action in this world right now, I think it's all true. I don't believe that it's right for a first-time candidate for the Board of Education, however, to take those kinds of risks. As a new trustee, my promise would be, it would be built on a practice of listening, observing, and asking questions, negotiation, compromise, and caution, wisely and slow, wisely and slow. If elected, I would be committing to a vision of high expectations for every student, shared beliefs and values of the community about what's possible for the students, about their ability to learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Laura?
Hi. Thank you for the PTA for sponsoring this event. So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Laura O'Connell. Currently, I am the Director of Capital Projects and Construction at the Public Theater in New York City. What I bring to the table is something very different. I do not have a background in education. I don't try to be or try to prove it. What I do bring is a skill set that is very honed into understanding, dealing with large challenges that need to fit within a fiscal boundary. And one of the things that I have learned in the last couple of years with regard to Haldane is that we're constantly dealing with balancing the budget understanding the needs of both the school and the district and the community, and trying to really balance those needs. And that's one of the things that I do on a daily basis, is really understanding, listening, communicating with all of the stakeholders, and really trying to validate and trying to make sure that we address all the issues that we can in the most efficient manner. One of the things in my past before going to the public theater, I actually worked for Teachers College. And Teachers College, at the time, didn't have a Department of Capital Projects. And what they did is that they were actually in the process of implementing a long-term academic strategic plan. And one of the needs as part of that plan was actually re-looking at the facilities to see if the facilities supported and was able to enhance that plan. And one of the things that was very early on that was caught through is the idea that new plans doesn't necessarily mean more space, and it doesn't actually mean more renovation. What it actually means is really assessing your existing conditions, assessing your existing programs, and really doing a deeper dive and assessing the situation and applying efficiencies on all levels. And in order for you to do that is to understand all the stakeholders and making sure that you listen to everyone that's involved in that process. I feel like what I bring to the board, if elected, is the opportunity to really be a person that can listen to the community, and really help also the district to be able to assess and sorry, I saw the time, and be able to assess and make sure that we're efficient in our approach and try to maintain the vision and meet the needs of all the students.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Our first question will be in the area of fiscal responsibility, and the candidates will have 2 minutes to answer, starting with Sean, then Laura, and then Jen. The question is, given the many challenges that face a small school like Haldane and limited education dollars, how would you prioritize its needs?
I think every child has a right to an equitable education in a healthy and safe environment. And this is not only true for our most vulnerable students, but it's also true for our students to succeed in plain sight, despite circumstances that may deem them ineligible for extra support. But equity in this case doesn't mean equal dollars. I think instead, equity refers to leveling the playing field and providing all students with the same opportunity to learn. Often this means some schools or students receive more dollars than others, some schools cost more to operate than others, et cetera, et cetera. This is referred to often as student-based budgeting. It's a method of allocation in which the dollars follow individual students rather than basing the district's budgets just on enrollment numbers. It allows for a more equitable allocation of funds among students in schools with different needs, such as those serving in high poverty populations, or students who are English language learners, or students in special education. This student-weighted budgeting supports school-level budget autonomy, which allows all of the schools to provide different levels of resources and services based on the student population. As a trustee, I would be committed to maintaining a stable and sensible financial foundation for the district with an open and prudent budget process, while recognizing that resource allocation needs to be based on the needs of every child. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura?
So I think that it's not necessarily prioritizing my needs. I believe that what my job or the role of a board and or a trustee is actually to really listen to the educators and to understand what their recommendation is, and to actually trust the information that's been given and the assessment, and that there is an efficiency in which the information that's been delivered is for the right reasons, and that it addresses the needs of every child. There will always be challenges. I do believe that the district has done a very good job to try to maintain all of the new programming and the changes in curriculum, and try to maintain and being within the tax cap. It's extremely difficult, and yet we've been able to do it. There are some trade-offs, but I don't think we look at it as trade-offs as long as we as a board and a district try to address the best that we can. And I think that that's crucial. And as long as we have that goal, I think we can actually maintain and continue the growth and the evolution of education as we move forward.
Thank you. Jen?
Yeah, I concur with my colleagues here in terms of prioritizing is tricky. It's really about establishing a relationship with the community and establishing an understanding with the administration. The board doesn't get to willy-nilly about priorities. It really comes from the leaders of the school. And the board can set parameters, which we certainly have. This budget cycle, one of them is that none of the programming goes away, that everything that we currently have stays. And that is a priority for our school district. That is a priority for probably every school district. I don't think that's really unique. But how we get there and what our programming is, those are conversations that happen with the administration. The administration has them with teachers. And ultimately, it's about bringing all of the pieces together. I think we need to prioritize that every student has everything they need. They have everything they need to be college and career ready. And I think that term needs to be broader, not just college and career, but also citizenship ready. And I think that is a goal that we have at Haldane, and I think that we do everything that we can to get there. But when we talk about college and career and citizenship ready, it's not just about what's in the classrooms, it's not just about what technology we use, it's about what are we offering our kids outside of the classroom, what kind of mental health services are we offering them, what kind of building and facility do they get to do all of that work in. So it's about finding synergy between all of those pieces, and ultimately, that's the goal. How do we give our kids the best, all of our kids?
Okay. Thank you. Our second question will be in the area of governance and district operations, and we will start with Laura, then Jen, and then Sean. The question is, what do you think of curriculum development at Haldane? What is strong and what should be improved?
I would have to say that the question's very difficult to answer. I don't really have an opinion. Again, I am just going to reiterate that my job as a potential candidate is to really listen to both the community and to the district, listen to the administrators and the educators and understand what their recommendation is, and ultimately making sure that we remain within the tax cap. And I think the challenge will always be that the tax cap will always be that will have its ebbs and flows with certain small variances, and the need for education will always increase. And the need to operate the facilities and the need to operate the school will always increase. So we will always be at conflict. But the understanding is to really understand the mission and the goal and maintain that, and really respect the educators that they have a vision and they have an understanding of what the needs are for the district and for the school, and to meet the needs of all the students.
Thank you. Jen?
Well, we have a really high-performing school, right? We have almost 100% graduation rate. We have most of our kids going on to college, whether it's a 2-year or a 4-year degree, or going into the workforce. So the fact that we have such a high-performing school, we're a rewards school, tells me that we're doing a pretty good job with curriculum and development. However, that being said, I think we can always do better. And that's something that we've been talking about as a board with our administration recently, is, when a new superintendent comes in, they get to see the school with fresh eyes, and Dr. Benante has certainly seen the school with fresh eyes and has said, our K through 12 alignment could be a little better. It's not always clear. and there are some holes. And as a board member, I respect that opinion. I'm not in the classrooms. I don't actually know what the K through 12 alignment is, but I respect and appreciate our superintendent and our principal's opinions, which is that we need to do a little better in that department. That's why the administration and the board has recommended that we put some funds towards a curriculum and instruction person. We don't currently have one at Haldane. We're one of 2 districts in our region that don't have a curriculum leader. Currently, our curriculum is led by our principals, who are the small business owners, who are doing a million other things too. So if we can give them some help, I think that would really serve our school. It could make us even a higher performing district, a clearer through line from K to 12. So yeah, we can do a little better.
Thank you. Sean?
Yeah, I think more and more districts all over the country are realizing that the particular approach that we've adopted, and we've adopted these past 5 years, project-based learning, is a really powerful instructional technique. And even though it seems like the introduction of project-based learning was a little tricky with our current educators, with the students who had been in the school and administrators, I think we've kind of really found a stride in a beautiful way. And certainly the kids that seem to have never known anything different really seem to thrive within this as a way of thinking about things. My background is in education. I sort of think about it. I live and breathe public education every day. I develop curriculum in one way or another, mostly for Shakespeare plays with a variety of different schools and districts all up and down the region. So it is something that's on my mind, but I would never be so bold as to assume, as both Laura and Jen said, I know exactly what's happening on a K through 12 here at Haldane. As far as PBL is concerned, I think there's a lack of agreement in one way or another about what makes PBL experiences really high quality. There are a lot of models and guidelines that have been prepared, but most of them have really been prepared with the teachers and educators in mind, and I think a lot could be done to provide a framework and guidelines for the students, so the students' experience has a little bit more context, and so the parents' experience might also be contextualized, so they know how to support that outside the school as well. And now that, as Jen was mentioning, that now that our the new tech network contract is complete, and we're not going to be looking to them for guidance and curriculum instruction, I'm really interested to see what our new curriculum director, should the budget pass on May 21st, does for us, and I look to see what Dr. Benante, how he stewards that process.
Thank you. Our third question will be in the area of student achievement, and you'll have 2 minutes to answer, starting with Jen, then Laura, and then Sean. The question is, in education, we often speak about the 3 A's, academics, arts, and athletics. But different countries, cultures, or even communities may place different value on any one of these areas. How do you think our school district values the 3 A's, and how do you, as an individual, value them?
Thanks. Yeah, I think we do a pretty good job with the 3 A's. As I said, we're a high-performing district, and that doesn't happen when you only focus in one area. Our academics are really exemplary. We have 40% of our students in athletics. I mean, that's pretty amazing. We have a high amount of kids who perform in the arts. I think we try to balance it all. I think sometimes we offer so many opportunities to all of our kids to excel in academics, excel in the arts, excel in athletics. Sometimes maybe we offer them too many opportunities and everybody's doing everything. But what I'd actually, I'll go out on a limb here and I'll say, as an arts educator, I actually do feel like our arts programming could be stronger and could be, we could balance a little bit out with that. The arts are co-curricular, they're not extracurricular. And I think sometimes the arts are thought of extracurricularly. And, somebody's art grade is just as important as their math grade. So, and I don't know that that's always really clear. So I think we could do a little bit of a better job with elevating the arts in our community. I think our community would like that. I think there's support for that. And I think it really benefits the students educationally. I think there's a lot of research behind that. So I think we do a not bad job But I would like to see the arts elevated in some way, shape, or form, whether that's with funding, with just the way we talk about it and think about it, or both. But I think the arts could be a little stronger.
Thank you. Laura?
So I think the district provides a very good balance of all three. They provide an opportunity for every student in the sense of the fact that every student is an individual, and they have the opportunity to make a choice and have all of the avenues available to them to allow them to excel in the approach in the way that they believe is part of their education and their educational growth. So I do believe that that there is a good balance with that. I actually do echo Jen, and I do believe that there is a little bit of a less push on the art side, but I'm also being very subjective and personal on that, just for my own sake. But with that being said, one of the things that I do believe that Haldane does very strongly is that we do try to meet the needs of every child. And we do look at the fact that we are a public school system, but we're small enough that we have the ability to be able to individualize the approach to education. And I believe that through the three elements of what we're providing, that it gives the opportunity of every child to be able to make their own decision and make their choice so that they can excel on their own.
Thank you.
I guess let me start by saying anybody who has spent more than 10 minutes with me will know that I'm passionate about two things other than my family, and that's baseball and Shakespeare, athletics and arts. And I've often debated whether or not baseball should be considered an art with my friends. And let's just say that the debate goes on. And let's just for a moment say that Haldane is, its primary concern, chief value, is an excellent academic program. Because I really feel like this is about pitting athletics versus the arts, which I just wish that we could stop looking at them as in opposition one to another more than anything else. That's sort of the question itself, though valid, really, it gets me because I wish we could stop talking about it in those terms. But I think that too often schools have to make difficult decisions about where to trim their budgets. It's always in the arts, it's always in athletic programs. But research has shown that a healthy correlation between students involved in the arts and a positive upswing in their attendance and their test scores. And guess what else? That's the same is true for sports. So they intertwine in a lot of ways. But that being said, I think a careful examination of how we invest the limited resources we have into athletics and arts would be useful. I would be curious to know how much money we currently spend per student based on their individual participation in athletics and arts programs. I'd like to see what that data looks like just to get a sense of it, and how much we spend on both sort of throughout the academic curriculum. Then we might be able to say with certainty where our true investment actually is, and whether or not we think that that's really the best way that we should be spending our resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last question is a general question, and we'll start with Laura, then Sean, and then Jen. And the question is, in your view, what has the district done well in the past few years? What would you like to improve?
I think in the last few years, the district has really proven to be very, very healthy, both financially and through adopting and working through the accelerated changes in education and the whole teaching and learning concept. And what we've also been able to do is really be able to stay within that tax cap. I cannot echo that anymore, but the fact that we remain tax neutral as much as possible is a big success on many ways. There are challenges with regard to increasing cost of living, increasing costs for benefits, and trying to balance that budget with the needs of being able to promote education and changes in academics, and also be able to provide additional programming. Those are all very big challenges that I believe that the district does very, very well, and that we've been able to really continue growth and evolution on all aspects of that. I think what is going to happen in the next, couple of years, I think everybody knows that there's a bond referendum that's out there. That's going to be a big vote, and the real question is how we're going to successfully implement all of those needs that we need for the facilities, and have that run parallel to the overall academic plan, and be able to see the district grow in that sense.
Sean?
Oh, me. It's me. I see. Well, a little over a year ago, it was announced that the outgoing superintendent, Diana Bowers, was going to be replaced by Dr. Phil Benante. And to my mind, having spent some time with him this year, I think that's the best decision that the board has made on behalf of the district since I've been here. He made a promise to spend this first year listening and meeting with people all throughout the community, teachers, staff, boards, students, outside the schools and churches, and to hear about our experiences and how he could strengthen and build upon those relationships. And he made good on that promise. He's everywhere, all the time. It's a little disconcerting. I'm worried about your family. I don't know when they see him. The strategic plan that's currently in place and set to expire in 2020 it was another significant achievement of the past 5 years, I think, and it's still being used to best determine how we prioritize where we spend our limited education dollars. And my hope is that in either revising that plan or completely reimagining it with the guidance of Dr. Benante, we'll address the same key questions with the same urgency. Does the current mission and vision inspire us to act? How does the history and culture of the school facilitate that vision? How does it prevent it from thriving? What do all stakeholders want for the future of the district? How do we create an action plan to make that future a possibility? And once we have this new roadmap, then we can align our goals, our workforce, the staff, and advocate for those financial resources to be executed on the strategic goals and objectives. Thank you.
Jen?
Well, I agree. I think we made a really good hire. And Dr. Benante is certainly something we've done well in the past few years. But so is, and I'm not going to say a lot of people because I don't want anyone to feel like I'm leaving anyone out because I'm not, but we have a lot of really great teachers and administrators that are with us right now. Julie Sniffen, moving her into the high school role, that was a great decision. She's phenomenal there. She is really excelling. Dr. Seelke is really just proving to be an amazing administrator. She's really growing into her role. She's such an asset to our district. So I'm going to put good hires in a category because I think there's been a lot of them. And the other thing I think we've done really well is this bond referendum that's up for vote this year. That's been the culmination of a few years of work and conversations and really paring it down and deciding what do we really need in our district right here, right now to make our facilities functioning, and how can we do it in a way that does not burden the taxpayer. And I think the bond referendum that the district has come up with is solid, and it's a result of really good work. The other thing I'm really proud of is that the board and the administration are offering a new position in mental health in this year's budget. That's huge. That's years of us talking about the need for that and us finding a way through budget efficiencies to get there. So that's something I'm really proud of. Something we can do better. We know we need to keep working on communication. I think we've made some strides in that area as a district, but I think we need to keep doing it and keep figuring out what works and what doesn't.
Okay. Thank you. Now each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement, starting with Sean, then Jen, and finally Laura. Sean?
Is it time to go already? Great. Okay, that went by very fast, I have to say. So, as the Director of Education and the Associate Artistic Director, the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival, my primary responsibility is the design, the execution, and the really healthy financial management of all of our in-school programs. We serve over 60,000 students throughout the Hudson Valley region and every district and every county between New York and Kingston, really. My career in not-for-profit education has taught me that a flexible, dedicated team can accomplish quite a bit on a limited budget and can really have a maximal impact. I'd be committed to maintaining a stable and sensible financial foundation for the district, prudent budget process. We need board members who can communicate effectively and who are prepared to advocate equitably in the best interest of all our children, not only for our most vulnerable, as I said before, but for all kids. And more board members like Jen Daly, actually, to be quite honest, people who I think have done a remarkable job of always being there when we need them, and always asking questions of us when she sees that something needs to be, said. So I really appreciate her for that. I would be committed advocate for the concerns and interests of all students, parents, teachers, and administrators in our extraordinary Haldane community. So thank you.
Jen?
I'd like to close with sharing what my absolute favorite event is at Haldane. So as a board member and as an elementary school parent, I go to a lot of events. My favorite event is the elementary school talent show, and this is why. We have kids that get up on stage who have probably never been on stage before, and they raise their hand and they say, I have something to share and I'm good at something. And nobody told them that they were good at it, right? It wasn't a director saying, oh, come in the front, or somebody, a coach saying, you're really good, you get to go first. It was them saying, I'm really good at something, and I want to show people what I'm good at. And I just think that's so brave. And I think that we create an environment at Haldane where that's possible, right? They feel like they are celebrated for being unique and for being brave. And that is a special thing. And the other thing I love about that event is that all of the parents that are in the audience, they are rooting for each student on that stage like they are their own. Students that you've never met before, and you're just rooting for them. And I just think that that is what this community does. We try to approach each kid like they're our own kids, and that's super special. And so my time on the board has been really challenging, really interesting, but mostly I'm running for re-election because I think we live in a super unique, special district, and I think that it is an honor and a privilege to be able to be part of the governance team that would create the elementary school talent show.
Thank you. Jen? Laura?
So I just want to say that I'm coming in from a very different perspective. I don't have a child in Haldane. My son is 3.5. He will be at Haldane in 2 years, and it's going to be a very interesting time for us. So we still have a lot to learn regarding Haldane. We're starting to get the feelers out there. We're trying to figure out, what's the best school to go to from a preschool standpoint and what's going to prepare him for Haldane. But I think what I'm trying to get at is that, the board is made up of members of the community, whether you have an attachment to the district because you have a child there, or whether you have a child who's an alum, or that you are an alum yourself. And the district is a representation of the entire community as a whole. So what I bring is a completely different perspective. I come from a perspective of a community member and a potential Haldane parent at the same time. So, I believe in the mission of the school, I believe in the mission of the district, and I think that, echoing both Sean and Jen, is that, we live in an amazing district, and I'm so excited that, my son Ross will be joining that in 2 years. And I think it's the right time for me to get involved so that I can understand and how do I continuously help steward and guide both from the district's perspective and also integrate the community and other stakeholders so that we can continue the mission for the students.
Thank you. And thank you to all our candidates. Now we will hear some closing remarks by Dr. Peggy Clements, who is a Board of Education trustee.
I just want to start by echoing the thanks that Dr. Benante provided at the beginning. Thanks to the PTA for hosting this event, putting it together, asking such really probing and good questions. Thanks very much to the candidates for taking the time to think through the questions and provide such thoughtful answers to the questions, and most importantly, for your willingness to serve the community in such an important way. I'd also like to remind community members to vote on May 21st. The polls are open from 7 to 9. Voting takes place here in the building. I'm pretty sure it's 105. It's always been 105. It's still 105. But importantly, there are 2 more opportunities to learn about, in particular, Proposition 3. Proposition 3 is the bond referendum that was referred to by the candidates, some of the candidates tonight, that's to put in place funds to address immediate health and safety needs in the school district. And so, as Jen mentioned, this is something that the district has worked, and the board and many community members have worked on really diligently for a couple of years in planning for and putting together this proposition, but we also want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to have all of their questions answered and to really learn why this particular bond referendum. Okay, so the 2 opportunities are this Thursday night, May 9th, at 6:30 p.m. at Butterfield Library. Dr. Benante is going to do another budget presentation forum with a particular focus on the capital referendum. And next Wednesday night, May 15th, there's going to be a referendum tour. It's led by our business administrator, Ann Dinio, who's been just such an incredibly important part of this process from the beginning, Dr. Benante, and our director of facilities, Nabil Boutros. It's going to be held 6:30, and everybody's going to meet in the main building in the lobby right upstairs. So again, Thursday night, May 9th, 6:30 p.m. for a presentation with a focus on the capital referendum, and then Wednesday, May 15th, 6:30 p.m. here in the main lobby to have the tour to really see a number of the issues that the referendum is going to address. And thank everybody again.
Thank you, Dr. Clements. And with that, our 2019 Meet the Candidates event is concluded.